Okay, happy birthday, Carme Pinos. I checked a few minutes ago how to pronounce correctly her name in Catalan. I'm still not sure I pronounce it well, but it is kind of like this, Carme Pinos. And yeah, here she is. When she was younger. This is her website, cpinos.com, and she's probably one of the more important architects in Europe now and in the world as well. It is clear that women architects are coming on strong. I mean, in architecture schools, in practice. Just 2 days ago, I received a new, images of a new project that is being built now by Studio Gang of Genie Gang, and yes, they are building, building, building. In fact, this presentation you are looking at, I dedicated because in this very presentation, I, uh, I, I had the work of both Carme Pinos and Bernadetta Taliabue, and I thought of dedicating, yes, the presentation to Maria Kimbutas, a researcher and kind of a theorist of color, of culture, who thought that matriarchy and the age of the goddess preceded the famous Greek culture in Europe, and it's very possible that she was right. Not even the world was not always a patriarchy, and women had at other times a much more important role than they had until recently. But as the title of a book I have published in France says, the 21st century is the century of women. Anyway, they are building, and I'm glad they are building. Men kind of had what they had to say, so let the women speak for a while. Um, okay. I just show at the beginning some images without comments or explanations, just to absorb through some visuals some of her works, and then we'll go through specifically through most of her works. This is a tower in Mexico, and she. I have to say this: the way the United States depicts Mexico is very unjust or unjust, because it's not is a sophisticated country with an old culture, and they are building, impressively. So this should be known about Mexico. It's not just a country with people who try to break into the United States illegally. No. I went once to Mexico, and I have to say I met very proud people, and very, uh, I would say, cultured. So, and let's not forget, Luis Barragan was Mexican architect, and even now they have very excellent architects. And not only that, the students in architecture in Mexico, it hurts me to say it, but they have interests in international competitions that are not all of a lucrative nature. And I know this because I receive projects from Mexico for competitions that I launch, and in those competitions, the Romanians do not participate, but the Mexicans do. Tadawando builds even Lipskin built, it's an interesting culture. Anyway, this is some furniture that she designed, but we'll come back to this a little bit later. Architecture, they keep saying, is beautiful when it is an adventure. If it is not an adventure, it can be a bore. And I think Carme Pinos would agree. Here she is in her office, and here she is with Enric Miralles, her husband. And in the back, you have the plan of remarkable work they did together when they were young. And I think it's one of the best works, and we are going to look at it in detail. It's the Igualada Cemetery in Barcelona, or near Barcelona. I like this work very much. I consider it somehow of the same importance for architecture with the Brion Cemetery by Carlos Scarpa, although it's a very, very different kind of cemetery. It's on one hand a public cemetery. It's a small cemetery, but it's a public one, not a private one like the Brion Cemetery by Scarpa. This is a sketch. She accompanies her works with such sketches where the essence of the project is shown with just a few lines. This is what she does. But so as part of a competition to replace an older cemetery, Enric Miralles and Carme Pinos envisioned a new type of cemetery that began to consider those that were laid to rest as well as the families that still remained. After 10 years of construction, the Igualada Cemetery outside of Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain, was completed in 1994 as a place of reflection and memories. It's in a certain way maybe for many people, it would seem that this is an uncomfortable place because it's not trying to give illusions, is in a way showing the limitations of life and the inevitable psychological turmoil that the limitations of life provoke or could provoke. The Igualada Cemetery is a project that challenges the traditional notions of what makes a cemetery. Miralles and Pinos conceptualize the poetic ideas of a cemetery for the visitors to begin to understand and accept the cycle of life as a link between the past, the present, and the future. It's understood by the architects to be a city of the dead, where the dead and the living are brought closer together in spirit. As much as the Igualada Cemetery is a place for those to be laid to rest, it is a place for those to come and reflect in the solitude and serenity of the Catalonian landscape. I had a chance to participate many years ago to a talk that Enric Miralles gave in New York about his work. And I remember him saying that in Spain, at that time, this was 1990 something, he thought that in Spain, most architecture is horizontal. And I remember that I asked him, well, what about Sagrada Familia? And he said, yes, that is an exception, and there are a few others, but as a whole, is a rather horizontal architecture. Well, since then, of course, there were some towers being built in Spain. So, but I think he was right, and not just for that time, perhaps. Spain didn't have too much verticality, architecturally speaking, and this work is horizontal indeed. But I admire the fact that it's a public cemetery, but it is an unsettling cemetery. Look at the pavement. recalling somehow one of the courtyards at the Jewish Museum by Libeskind in Berlin. And again, you would say this is an unsettling place. Is a place where you are provoked to be anxious in a way. But I think truth is more important than illusions, which turn soon into delusions. It's a very fine work, and maybe there is a certain pessimism here, if we are to call it so. But again, we are dealing with a cemetery. Too much optimism would have been kind of out of place, wouldn't it? Look at the plan. I think it's a beautiful plan. I mean, even graphically speaking, it's like a human silhouette, no? And this shows how poetical Enric Miralles and Carme Pinos were. And I'm very glad they did this work. So we see the work of man, not quite vertical, while the trees are vertical. So this in itself, although I said that there is a certain pessimism here, when I look at this picture, I see a certain optimism, because where man is falling, where the life of man is ending at one moment, the life of nature continues and is able to regenerate itself. And these slender trees, at least when the picture was taken, seem to say so. Conflict, tension, what can we say? The sculptural elements of the work are obvious, and you are going to see also pergolas done in Barcelona for the Olympic Village, which are also dramatically sculptural. I particularly like this picture that shows the ability of Miralles and Carme Pinos to create an architectural event with the simple means and not expensive means. I mean, you can meditate on everything you see here. It's really architectural poetry, and it's done in an unusual way. This is creativity. How else could I call it? Too bad Enric Miralles died rather young, 45, 46, something like this, in the year 2000s. Because after all, life ends in what? In this fragmentation, is scattered. It's the shards of a life are scattered, and it is what it is. Yes, in that poem by Fernando Pessoa about shattered love, it's like a vase that is broken and it falls on the stairs, and just the shards remain. Again and again, architecture at its best is poetry. Not necessarily written with words, although 2 days ago a student sent me an article published at Harvard, where writing is considered extremely important for architecture, and it makes the case for the presence of words in architecture. And I thought that this is maybe some kind of a return to pre-Gutenberg time, when the narrative was incised, so to speak, in the flesh of the walls of the cathedral. the return of the narrative in architecture, I think, is a good thing, but it's still there is still a lot of space to be recovered in that sense. I mean, look at this, you know, it's just in a way a simple gesture, but it makes you reflect on what death is and the finality of life. We don't know if, you know, of course, religion is trying to console us that there is a life, an afterlife, but who knows? As a neighbor of mine in Sibiu said, you know, it must be beautiful in the afterlife, since I know of no one who returned from there. In my opinion, in more recent times, so to speak, so from the 20th century onwards, we don't reflect enough on death. In the 19th century, there was a lot of concern with memorials, with graves, with cemeteries. But in the 20th century, there were a few exceptions, like Gunnar Asplund's interventions in that famous cemetery in Stockholm, or Carlo Scarpa, or Aldo Rossi, who also built an important cemetery, if I can call it so, and now Enric Miralles. But in general, this is a subject we would rather not talk about, you know. Anyway, La Villa Olimpica from 1992, also where Carme Pinos collaborated with her husband, Enric Miralles. And these pergolas are very, very dramatic. Look at them. You know, it only shows how open-minded Barcelona was and is if they build this kind of pergolas, which are conflictual. They show in a way the drama of competition, but also there is something a little bit ominous here. But they are very interesting, very engaging visually, and you know, they did it before the advancements in digital technology. I don't think they used in 1992 any kind of digital technology. This was a work done manually in terms of the design process. Now, Carme Pinos now works a little bit differently. This was done with her husband. We'll see the differences, but I think it was important to show the works they did together as well, because I'm sure her presence in the partnership was significant. This reminds me a little bit of those tests. Sometimes certain sites force you to go through exactly when you are in a hurry, you know, to identify yourself that you are not a robot, and you are given, you know, they show you with 2 or 3 pictures a tractor or some kind of I don't know, palm tree or whatever. You have in a hurry because the conference is supposed to start. And I know I panic when this shows up, and it kind of shows up frequently now, to my despair. Anyway, interesting pergolas, probably the most original and unsettling pergolas ever built until now. It shows again that architecture, when it deserves its name, is creative. Now, some might not like what they see here, but we cannot deny its originality. Isn't in a way our life like this, you know? That's why I think that straight, rectangular, whatever Le Corbusier might say with his, straight line to the goal of the man who has a goal and who has a will. Come on, Monsieur Le Corbusier, you yourself changed. Anyway, interesting work by Carme Pinos and Eric Miralles. Now, the pedestrian footbridge in Petre Alicante, this is, I think she had more input in this project. And here again, we see, the drama of avoiding the simplistic straight line. But the work is, less in a way unsettling as the one in the Igualada Cemetery. Although there are these, differences in the surface of in the walking surface that are saying something. They are saying something that in a way, not everything is flat and easy, and there are differences that one should consider. Now, of course, some rules and regulations would protest, would say, wait a minute, this is dangerous. You can hit yourself here, and you can fall, and you can break your leg or whatever. Again, the paraphernalia of protection Rem Koolhaas talked about, although he used it himself, the paraphernalia of protection. Again, this kind of graphic representation of the essence of a work, which Carme Pinos does, and drawing of, this is the archery in Barcelona, will arrive at, I hope, at this work a little later. The Juan Aparicio Cifronti Torrevieja, this was done, I think, after they separated. I'm not sure, but I think so, although the specifics of the drawing seem to still show the presence of Eric Miralles. This was not deconstruction and was not considered deconstruction, but there are similarities here because this kind of fragmentation shows a disbelief in the monolithic certitudes that many architects still believe in. Here is an image of Carme Pinos opening the School of Architecture summer show at Bartlett, prestigious school in London. And this shows again the importance of her presence on the architectural scene. I wish we have some things like this also in Romania, events, not now that there is the pandemic, but the curiosity, the number of people who attend such events, makes me envious, because my experience in Bucharest was not like this, at all. In fact, there were important exhibitions where almost no one in a school with 2,300 people participated. I remember once there was an exhibition that came from Vienna, from Austria, and the Austrians brought to them wine, orange juice, cookies. They installed very quickly an engaging, interesting, and civilized exhibition. And I was giving a lecture then, and I kind of rushed to be able to go to the opening of this Austrian exhibition. So I arrived 15 minutes later, and there was no one there. No one. It's just unbelievable. I don't understand it. While here, look at this. Anyway, master plan for the historic center of Saint-Dizier in France, the department's building of the new campus of the Van will arrive at, as I said at the beginning, I only show some works kind of in a maybe less rigorous way. These are buildings she built just next to the library by Zaha Hadid. And I think her architecture has the power to have an engaging neighbor like Zaha Hadid without any timidity or complexes. So that's what she built. And again, it shows that her presence on the architectural scene is appreciable and vast. Here we see Zaha's building, a library, which doesn't look like a library when you enter it. You know, I don't mind the drama of the exterior, but when you enter, it could be any kind of building. In fact, you don't see one single book. So I don't know. It's a little bit problematic. I admire Zaha, but that building could have been anything else. While the building by Carme Pinos, well, it doesn't have this open publicness that the building by Zaha does. Vienna, a city which invites architects from other, in fact, we see in between the building by Zaha, by Carme Pinos and the one by Zaha, we see the tower by Dominique Perrault. So here we see, and across this space is a building by, what's his name, who was the dean at Bartlett. Now I don't remember his name, to my shame. Anyway, I will. So a major architect, without any doubt, Carme Pinos, although she doesn't have a very large office, but it's not like in the United States where you have, you know, offices with 400 people, 300 people, 200 people, if not bigger. So here you are, you know, this is her building, this is Zaha's building, and this is the building of, my God, he was a member of Archigram, and for some reason, my memory is now refusing to acknowledge his name. Anyway, but the students didn't like his building a lot at all, and so maybe that's why I don't remember his name. Moving forward, you see, now we are 7 people right now here on Zoom with me. That meaning out of 2,300 people I sent the invitation to, only 6 people showed an interest in Carme Pinos. I mean, 3 important architects. This says a lot about us. Cube 1 Tower in Guadalajara, Mexico, a very interesting building. And it shows that she's an unconventional builder, an unconventional architect. I mean, how many architects would build an office tower like this? Well, you know, what can we do? We have cars, so we have to provide spaces for them. It's a problem. There are too many cars, in my opinion, in the world. It must be nice, you know, the feeling you have as an architect who has such a variety of works built in various countries. You know, I imagine is a good feeling. And look at the plan. It is a creative plan. she built another one, and you will see the difference between this one and the other one, also in Guadalajara. So this is the one we just looked at, but we'll see another one, a taller one, Cube 2 Tower in Guadalajara, Mexico. I wonder what the ex-president of the United States would have said if he was aware of, these buildings. Yes, she's not Mexican, but the fact that in Guadalajara they build such buildings does say something about the cultural preoccupations of that country. This is the plan of the second tower she built in Guadalajara. I mean, a schematic, a conceptual drawing, and here is an elevation, and it was built. So there, Mr. Trump, Mexico is not just about some poor immigrants forcing their way into the United States, risking their lives to cross the wall you intended to build and you started to build. No. I mean, the building on the left was not built by Carme Pinos, just the one on the right, but is an impressive tower. And you can see there are others. So again, the image of Mexico being a country of destitution and drugs and so on is maybe those realities exist, but they are not the only ones. There is a modern Mexico which is of the same amplitude, and its achievements are undeniable. University of Economics, we already looked at the building she built. She proposed some other buildings which were not yet built. Restoration of the back facade of this market in Barcelona from 2007-2015. She built this by herself without Enrique, who died and who was also separated from her. Look at this; it's a market. The drama of the roofs shows again that architecture can only benefit from sculptural attributes. And the diagonals, again, they testify about freedom in a way, about non-conformism, about the dynamic quality of life that is necessary. Here she is as a proud woman architect, as if she is waiting for the bull to fight with. You do need, of course, you need determination, you need hard work. It's not easy in a competitive world to succeed. Here they are again as a young couple, Eric Miralles on the right and Carme Pinos on the left. And here she is, later on. Now, Cube 2 office towers, we already looked at it. We'll see a few more images. It's called a cube, but it's not really a cube. It's much too tall to be called a cube. I don't know why it is called a cube. So this is in Guadalajara in Mexico, or Mexico. And these are the plans. I would say very nice plans. Because there is this clear interest in breaking the box, in the rift. There is a break here. And this break is adding drama to the building. During construction at the beginning, an early sketch. And you see, it stands out. In the context of the other buildings, it stands out. A single family house in the district of Valcarca in Barcelona, 2003-2010 is this house here, which itself shows creativity and modernity in a context which would have been maybe rather difficult because of its historicism. Yet she had no trouble to decide for modernity. And some pieces of furniture by her. We already saw some. Like other architects, she's also doing object design or industrial design or furniture design. Now the Zaragoza Arquitectura in España, the Caixa Forum, another interesting building by her is this one. I don't think it's necessary to say it again. The sculptural elements of a building are important. And this is shown here as well. Carme Pinos. And there are also at night, digital interventions on the facade of the building. This is a summer house she designed in Mexico, which gives a sense of spaciousness and brightness in a timeless and comfortable interior. Anyway, this was the description that came with the house. It's not a very agitated house, but I think is a comfortable house, and shows her skill in also modeling the exterior of the house, but also taking care of the interior in an adequate manner. And it has surprises. It is a house which is not easily or totally predictable. There are these locations here too, like in the towers built in Mexico, you know, which are present constantly in her work. Now, a few other designs of the object designs of hers. You see the piece of furniture that is built, and then the little ideogram that accompanies in her presentations of her pieces. It's like with a few lines, she tries to express, in a way, in a condensed form, the essence, the conceptual essence of what she built.